Have you ever failed so many times that you started to wonder if success just isn't meant for you? Maybe you tried, failed, tried again, and now people are telling you to give up. Here's the truth most people never hear. Failure isn't proof that you're not good enough. It's proof that you're still in the game. This story is about a man who failed again and again until one shift in perspective changed everything. Stay until the end. The story opens by addressing one of the deepest and most paralyzing fears people carry in silence: the fear of failure. This fear is rarely born from a single mistake. Instead, it grows slowly, shaped by repeated attempts that did not work out as planned. A business collapses. An opportunity slips away. A promise to oneself is broken. Over time, these moments stop feeling like events and begin to feel like evidence. The fear is no longer just about failing again. It becomes a quiet belief that success simply is not meant for you. This inner voice grows louder with each setback, whispering doubts late at night and resurfacing whenever the thought of trying again appears. The story speaks directly to this emotional state, recognizing that fear does not come from weakness, but from disappointment endured too many times without understanding. Society celebrates winners, but rarely talks about the cost of losing, leaving people to feel isolated in their struggle. By confronting this fear openly, the opening reframes failure as a shared human experience rather than a personal flaw. It prepares the listener for a powerful shift in perspective, signaling that what follows is not a tale of luck or talent, but a redefinition of what failure truly means, and why it may not be the enemy we believe it is. With this heavy fear quietly shaping his thoughts, the story then introduces Daniel as a living example of what repeated failure can do to a person's sense of self. At 27, Daniel lives in a city where ambition is everywhere. Success stories on billboards, promotions announced on social media, and peers moving confidently forward. Yet for him, progress feels painfully out of reach. He is not lazy, careless, or unprepared. In fact, he has tried again and again. A small business collapses within months. A dream job rejects him at the final stage. Another startup fades away after months of exhausting effort. Each failure adds weight, not only to his finances, but to his identity. As friends celebrate milestones, new homes, stable careers, growing families, Daniel feels increasingly invisible. Even well-meaning family advice begins to sound like quiet resignation, suggesting safety over ambition. Slowly, Daniel stops seeing failure as something that happened to him and starts believing it is who he is. His resume no longer represents effort and courage, but proof that he is not meant to succeed. This is the true danger of repeated setbacks. They distort self-worth. Daniel's struggle is not a lack of ability or intelligence, but the psychological erosion caused by interpreting failure as a verdict instead of an experience. As this belief quietly settles into Daniel's mind, the story moves toward the moment where internal doubt finally turns into exhaustion. The breaking point arrives on a rainy evening in a small coffee shop where Daniel opens yet another rejection email, this time from a company he believed was his last real chance. As he reads the polite words on the screen, something inside him collapses. Not anger, not frustration, just a hollow emptiness. For the first time, Daniel does not feel the urge to fight back. Instead, he feels tired of hoping, tired of trying, tired of convincing himself that the next attempt will be different. Sitting alone, watching rain slide down the window, he begins to seriously consider quitting. The idea of choosing a safe, ordinary life feels strangely comforting. No more disappointment, no more waiting, no more proof that he might not be enough. Yet that comfort carries a quiet grief, the grief of abandoning the version of himself that once believed in something more. This moment captures the most dangerous consequence of failure. Not pain, but surrender. The story deliberately slows here, allowing the audience to sit inside Daniel's silence and vulnerability. Because real transformation does not begin with motivation or confidence. It begins at the moment when giving up finally feels reasonable. Just as Daniel sits with that quiet decision forming in his mind, the story introduces an unexpected presence that shifts everything. An older man named Robert, who has been sitting nearby, gently breaks the silence, not with advice, but with a question. He asks Daniel something simple yet disarming. Do you know the difference between a failure and a lesson? The question lands heavier than comfort ever could. Robert does not deny Daniel's pain or rush to motivate him. Instead, he reframes it. A failure, he explains, only exists when someone stops trying. The moment learning enters the experience, the meaning changes. To make this real, Robert shares his own history, not a polished success story, but one filled with 7 failed businesses, debt, judgment, and humiliation. His authority comes not from winning, but from surviving loss. Through calm words and vivid metaphors, Robert dismantles the illusion of linear success. He introduces the idea that growth is built through experiments, feedback, and adjustment, not talent or luck. Rejection becomes data. Mistakes become information. Setbacks become part of the process. In this moment, shame loosens its grip. Daniel is no longer framed as broken or incapable, but unfinished. The conversation does not erase his failures, it gives them meaning. And that shift quietly opens the door to change. Carrying Robert's words with him, Daniel does not leave the cafe feeling instantly confident or healed. Instead, he leaves with something more powerful: clarity. That very night, he opens a notebook and begins writing down every failure he has tried to forget. One by one, he lists them, not to relive the pain, but to understand it. For the first time, Daniel looks at his past without judgment. He stops asking, "What's wrong with me?" and starts asking, "What did this teach me?" Each failed business reveals a lesson he once ignored: the importance of market research, the cost of poor preparation, the danger of rushing, the value of resilience. As the pages fill, something unexpected happens. The emotional weight that once crushed him begins to lift. These experiences no longer feel like proof of inadequacy. They feel like data, strategy, experience earned the hard way. Daniel realizes he has not been standing still all these years. He has been learning, just without reflection. This moment marks a quiet but profound shift. By turning failure into information, Daniel reclaims control over his story. He is no longer a victim of bad outcomes, but an active student of them. The fear of failure loosens its grip, replaced by curiosity. And with that shift, the future no longer feels like a threat, it feels like a possibility waiting to be tested. With his past failures now reframed as lessons rather than scars, Daniel approaches his next attempt with a mindset he has never had before. This time, he does not rush. He does not chase excitement or validation. Instead, he moves deliberately, applying everything he has learned. Before investing time or money, he studies. He listens closely to feedback instead of defending his ideas. When progress feels slow, he reminds himself that growth does not announce itself loudly, it builds quietly. The early results are modest. 10 users sign up, then 100, then 500. Numbers that once would have discouraged him now feel meaningful, because this time they are real and sustainable. Daniel no longer measures success by instant breakthroughs, but by whether he is improving week by week. When obstacles appear, and they still do, he no longer sees them as signs to quit. He sees them as questions asking for better answers. Rejections lose their emotional sting and become information guiding his next move. Even a short message from Robert later serves as a reminder that learning never stops. This phase represents maturity. Daniel's motivation is no longer driven by hope or fear, but by discipline and understanding. His journey accelerates not because luck arrives, but because his perspective has finally caught up with his effort. With his past failures now reframed as lessons rather than scars, Daniel approaches his next attempt with a mindset he has never had before. This time, he does not rush. He does not chase excitement or validation. Instead, he moves deliberately, applying everything he has learned. Before investing time or money, he studies. He listens closely to feedback instead of defending his ideas. When progress feels slow, he reminds himself that growth does not announce itself loudly. It builds quietly. The early results are modest. 10 users sign up, then 100, then 500. Numbers that once would have discouraged him now feel meaningful, because this time they are real and sustainable. Daniel no longer measures success by instant breakthroughs, but by whether he is improving week by week. When obstacles appear, and they still do, he no longer sees them as signs to quit. He sees them as questions asking for better answers. Rejections lose their emotional sting and become information guiding his next move. Even a short message from Robert later serves as a reminder that learning never stops. This phase represents maturity. Daniel's motivation is no longer driven by hope or fear, but by discipline and understanding. His journey accelerates not because luck arrives, but because his perspective has finally caught up with his effort.
This is the end of the video. Thank you very much for listening. See you again in the next video. Please like and comment to subscribe to the channel, to support the channel, to produce better videos.